Where the big problems are, you talk about the UK, you talk about Europe, you talk about the US, I basically point to two things. One is congested airports, so Amsterdam, Frankfurt, Paris, the big London airports. And the other one for the UK in particular is just a very tight labour market post-Brexit.
Alexander, if people don't take their holidays this year, that's it. That's just a flight that the airline companies are not going to get. That's profit they're not going to book. If we look at the sector as a whole, how far down are you taking your earnings analysis now?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the best data points we had was EasyJet, who came out last week. They said they were trimming their summer schedule from 97% of pre-pandemic capacity to about 90%, with a smaller adjustment in the spring quarter that's finishing in a couple of days' time. That took out, in our view, around 1 to 200 million of revenues, which was around about our profit target for EasyJet for the full year. So material, but as you say, it's 1 year of earnings. And by this time next year, the going in assumption is that we will have the right levels of staff in place for the summer demand that airlines will expect.
And who's best poised to take advantage of this current disruption? I mean, we heard Michael O'Leary, of course, from Ryanair. He's always out there banging the drum for his business and arguing that he's one of the least affected. But as you look at these companies, who would you put money on? Who would you stay away from?
You're absolutely right for Ryanair, and by the same token, Wizz. Why do I say those two? One, you've got a very well diversified network across Europe. So if you have staff shortages from one place or a strike in one place, look at Ryanair over the weekend, you can use staff from elsewhere to try and operate those flights. Two, they're more in the secondary airports of Europe. So you're not necessarily flying the hub-to-hub, very congested routes. You have a network that is more in the airports where there are fewer flights that's easier to manage through. For Wizz as well, let's not forget they're the only large non-unionized airline in Europe, so you don't have the strike threat there.
Alexander, it feels like there's still a lot of unknowns for the airline sector around the oil price and hedging strategies from here, what we've got in terms of further COVID waves to weather and, of course, any potential recession. What does that mean, though, for some of these airlines? Because the capital raisings have not stopped at this point as we talk about trying to cover more fixed costs here with higher wages. Do you think we're still looking down the barrel or staring down the barrel of more capital raisings from the airlines?
Answer a slightly different question. Do any of the large listed airlines in Europe require a capital raise? The answer is likely no. Passengers are coming back, and remember, airlines are negative working capital businesses. You get the cash in, and then you spend it to operate the flight. So the more passengers come back, the better your cash position gets. They're all liquid enough. Are we done with capital raises? Let's see. But it's going to be a strategic decision by the airlines rather than something they're forced into, as we saw in 2020.